morning. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We want you to dance. It's Friday, and I know that this week was a short week, but holy smokes, it felt so long.
Why?
I don't know. I do know. There was a lot crammed into this week, right?
Yeah, you had things every night this week, too. That always makes the week feel longer when you get home so late.
Yeah, it's true. Every night this week I had something.
Yes.
So it just, I guess, well, okay, let's put it into perspective. When you're putting in 15-hour days.
Well, and here's the funny thing, because you had work things that kept you away from home.
You were partying.
I was partying all week long because it's the end of the school year, and a lot of my friends are retiring and birthdays and all kinds of fun stuff. So I was out having a good time, and you were working.
Well, because I had important things to handle.
You did, and you took care of them. You did a great job.
Taking
Erin.
care of business. I'm just saying.
But it is Friday.
Woohoo! It's Friday.
And tomorrow
is
the Swarm.
The Swarm. Okay, so we haven't really talked about the Swarm much on this show.
We haven't.
Why don't you tell people what it is?
So it is an all-classes reunion for Colton High School. And it started 4 years ago when my graduating class of 1986, was scheduled for our 30th reunion. And people were like, we don't like the big fancy formal thing anymore.
We don't want a rubber chicken dinner.
Too expensive. And also, we're living in the age of social media, and a lot of people already sort of feel connected to the people that they want to be connected to. They found them online and they are aware of what's going on in their life. And so we wanted something that was more casual and fun and a little broader. If we're going to put the effort into doing something, let's do it for a bigger group, because our class is not the biggest. And so we decided to do a picnic at the park. And so this is our fourth year doing it. We are at Yucaipa Regional Park tomorrow afternoon. We're there from 9 in the morning until 5 p.m., and it's really just y'all come, right? So it costs $10 a carload to get into the park, and then we're asking for $5 from each person when they get to Shade Shelter number 1, which is where we're going to be with our Swarm group. And the $5 from each person is to help cover the cost of the Shade Shelter.
Of Shade Shelter number 1.
Yes. And so we can do this again next year. We have an alumni who is a DJ Amnesia, Eric Templeton from the class of 1990. He's going to be making the music for us all day long and just having a lot of fun. And each year kind of organizes themselves. And this year, I'm super excited because we kind of broke out of just the social media buzz. And we got a large group from the 1960s that's coming. And so 50 to 70 people from I think the class of 65. And just super excited about that. And you bring your stuff, right? You bring your food, you bring your drink, and there's just a lot of stuff to do there. We're going to have some games and things set up in our own area. But you can also, if you want, you can pay for the water slides and the swimming part there. If you like to fish, they've got lakes with fishing.
I'm sure they have pedal boats and things like that on the lake as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff to do over there, and it's just really exciting. So I can't kind of wait for today to get done. So when I get home tonight, get everything set up and get all my gear ready so that I'm ready to go in the morning tomorrow, and just to get out there and have some fun, see some friends that I haven't seen in a while, and just enjoy the day. And it looks like it's going to be fabulous weather tomorrow. Only supposed to get up into the 70s. So I'm just excited.
So that's the Swarm, Yucaipa Regional Park tomorrow, pretty much all day.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's exciting, Tobin.
Yay.
So I don't know what I'm going to the Swarm, but other than that, I just want to relax. One thing that I'm really looking forward to about this summer is that the school district. So I work for the Making Hope Happen Foundation, and I run the Infant Toddler Success Program, the Dr. Albert Carnig Infant Toddler Success Program, which is also known as KITS. We're going to be on 410s this summer.
We are.
Yeah. Well, I am. You're going to be off.
I was going to say, you're going to make me work 4 days a week?
No, but that means I get a 3-day weekend every week.
Hey. That means we can travel. We can do things.
We can do things.
Cool.
Right?
That sounds like fun.
Right?
Let's do things.
So that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. Okay, Tobin, pick a story.
So they fired the city manager in San Bernardino, Aaron.
Well, that was shocking.
Yeah,
Not
and
at all.
so if you remember when the election happened, literally the first meeting after the election, they wanted to review her contract, review
They
her
being the
job
mayor and
perform-
city council.
Yeah, the new mayor, because he did not like the city manager. He felt that she was too favorable to the previous mayor, blah, 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 blah. So he called her in and they did their review with the intention of firing her, but they had not read the fine print of her contract, which basically said that she was protected in I think it was a 90-day window from before the election and after the election, right? That she could not be terminated. And so they had the discussion and they began the process, but they were down a council person, right? Because the mayor had been a council person, now he's the mayor. So they hadn't filled that vacancy yet, and they didn't have the votes to get rid of the city manager. So they had the election. The new councilman, Juan Figueroa, has now been seated, and literally at the first meeting that he sits down at, boom, they fire her. Right? Now, they put her out on admin leave, paid admin leave prior to this, so she's not been running the city now for several months.
I want everybody to understand that what is it, $11 million deficit or something crazy like that, $7 million? How much is it?
It's 11 is what they're talking about.
$11 million deficit in the city, and they've taken the city manager and put her on paid admin leave. That means she's being paid, but she's not doing the job.
Yes. So that was that's how they started it.
That's how they started it.
Now they've terminated her. Now,
which means they have to pay out her contract.
Yes, and the way I understand it, and if someone knows different, I hope they enlighten me at some point. But the way I understand it is that she had a 5-year contract. She was in her second year of a 5-year contract, and the way California law works is that the most that they have to pay her is 18 months of that. They don't have to pay her the remaining 3 years. They don't have to pay 18 months of it. But still, 18 months is about $350,000, I think, something like that.
And they have to hire somebody else to do that job.
And so that's a significant outlay of cash. Yeah. So
So who does he hire?
Well, there's all kinds of discussion about how the process might go and who he might hire. Of course, the rumor mill is that he was going to bring in his buddy Jim Pinman, the former city attorney. I don't see that happening, but I do see him going out and looking for someone. This mayor wants to be a strong mayor, which means he's going to hire a weak city manager, right? Someone who will basically do whatever he tells him to do. So I don't expect to find someone who has got a ton of experience in that job now. It's probably going to be someone who's, this is their first time stepping up, and they're willing to sort of just do whatever Mayor Valdivia says. And so this is going to be fascinating to see as they go through this process. But I will tell you that Andrea Miller, who they just let go, was phenomenal in that not only was she a city manager, but she also was an attorney. And so basically you're getting a twofer, right? That she had that municipal law background as well as a city management background. And she'd worked on both sides. She'd worked as an attorney for other cities and county agencies, and also as in city management. And so a really highly qualified individual. And maybe they do bring in Penman and say, "See, I got another attorney in here now." But I don't see them bringing Penman back, especially considering that he was recalled. I think that would just be a real slap in the face to all the voters who voted him out of office just a few years ago, and a real return to the kind of dysfunction that the city was trying to get away from with their new charter and the recalls and all the stuff that they did going through the bankruptcy process.
So I don't think Valdivia would care about what the voters want. I think that the reason why he wouldn't, well, I don't know, maybe he does pick Penman. I don't think the normal motivations register with him.
No, I agree. I think he's got his own sort of different view of how that stuff should work. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, I'm not sure what he will do. Typically, there's a process, right? And the process is you hire an outside consulting firm to create the pool of applicants and narrow them down based on the criteria that you give them. And then they will come to you with, a list of sort of however many, and then you run them through a series of committees. And in the past, it was a committees of city employees, committee of community members, and then the final sort of group after that had been narrowed down to like the top, 3 or 4 candidates would be the city council and the mayor. and then after the city council and the mayor talked to the top 3 or 4 candidates, then they would choose from that who they thought was their choice. I don't know if this mayor will run a process similar to that. That's how it was run when I was on the council. It was a pretty lengthy and rigorous process to find the best candidate we could.
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We will be right back.
With 60 years of fascinating facts, this is The Man from Yesterday. From May of 1992, looks like My Cousin Vinny has brightened Marissa Tomei's spotlight. She's been acting since the mid-'80s, but this movie, released in March, has become her biggest movie so far.
Can you answer the question?
No, it is a trick question.
Why is it a trick question?
Because Chevy didn't make a 327 in 55. The 327 didn't come out till 62. And it wasn't offered in the Bel Air with a 4-barrel carb till 64.
From this time in 1972, a giant on TV passes away. Dan Blocker, who portrays Haas on Bonanza, he passed away from complications following gallbladder surgery. From this time in 1964, everybody's talking about this new Disney attraction, but it's not yet at Disneyland. With the recently opened New York World's Fair, lots of folks are talking about It's a Small World. In a joint venture with Pepsi, the ride is described as sheer delight by one newspaper.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small, small world.
With more at manfromyesterday.com.
This segment brought to you by Tammy Sutherland and Mary Vita of RE/MAX Advantage Realty, your hometown realty company serving Yucaipa, where they make it their business to put happy people in happy homes. It's Tammy and Mary's passion to list your house and put you in just the right house you can call home. Here's what people are saying day after day.
Tammy did way more than we ever expected in a real estate agent. Without Tammy, we would still be renting.
I didn't think we'd ever find a house we loved, but with Tammy's help, we did. Now I get to mow the lawn every weekend. But then again, that's why we had kids. Brandon!
She made so much extra effort to sell our house and make sure that we understood every step of the way. Tammy always had our best interests at heart.
So if you want a perfect house, you can find Tammy or Mary at RE/MAX Advantage Realty. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, it's homesbytammy.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/Realtor Tammy Sutherland. You can also reach Tammy or Mary Vita by phone at 909-556-2094.
KCAA invites you to join Dr. Donald Gabriel Jolly for What's It All About? He's never without words.
I have an opinion about everything.
He talks about everything.
You can say, I love you, and be fired by the power of the crotch instead of the real meaning of love. You have an illness. It is called terminal acute hornitis.
Join Dr. Jolly for What's It All About? 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon on KCAA 1050 AM.
This is KCAA.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I can't make them stay.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. And we kind of talked about this in the last segment, but the San Bernardino is facing an $11.2 million deficit in the fiscal year beginning July 1. So the San Bernardino city leaders this week got their first glimpse of proposals to shave 7% from the 2019-2020 budget. According to a staff report prepared for a budget study workshop on Wednesday, May 29th, the proposed cuts would claim 74 full-time city positions, though only 25 of those presently are filled. Should the City Council decline to approve any of the proposed reductions, the city would tap into reserves to balance the budget, further dwindling its rainy day fund. Shortly after reviewing the proposed cuts, the council in a closed session meeting, as we talked about, fired city manager Andrea Miller, and they portending as they were saying that she was put on on leave because of the significant budgetary shortfall. So they're blaming her for that. Councilman Fred Charette and Jim Mulvihill voted against Miller's dismissal. When the budget was presented to us in 2018, it was anticipated we would have a slight or modest reserve at the end of the year, according to Councilman Henry Nickel. He said that by phone to the Sun on Thursday. Not only do we not have that reserve, but revenues underperformed and we have significantly overexpended. In a corporate environment, the corporate executive has to be relieved when that happens. That's actually not true. What happens is that you make adjustments. You pay attention to your budget and you make mid-year adjustments.
And I'll be honest with you, this number of $11.2 million deficit is an inflated number, okay? And it's exposed as being an inflated number in that first paragraph that you read, where they mentioned that they need to get rid of 74 full-time positions, but only 25 of them are filled. So that means 49 of those positions really aren't money that's being spent.
Right.
Right? It's money that you projected to spend, but you haven't spent. And so so by counting those positions as being a part of this, you're inflating the number to say we've got this big deficit, but it's not because the positions aren't filled. And so this is a sort of a political game that's being played a little bit to achieve a political end. Now, don't get me wrong. The city did overspend last year, and there were some projections that were not met. Right, they overprojected some revenues, but this happens.
Yeah, I was going to say part of the projections are I mean, there's a little voodoo involved because you have to be able to read the tea leaves and say, okay, this is what we're expecting, and this is why governments and organizations, including for-profit ones, during every quarter or every month, or depends on your company, will review how things came through and make adjustments. So if your sales are not hitting their targets, you make adjustments.
Exactly. And what's interesting about this is that the moves that were made by the new mayor and council in the first 6 months were actually moves that added to the budget, right? That they created new positions, that they bolstered their own staff, that they did some reorganization in the police department that actually promoted people, meaning they're going to earn more money. And so this is it's interesting that now they're saying, oh, we've got this situation and we have to make these deep cuts. I will say, having been through this when I was on the council, that when you have deficits, though, making the cuts early is important. Okay.
Yep.
And that the longer you wait to do it, the harder it becomes, because mid-year cuts don't have the same effect as a cut that starts at the beginning of the year. So I'm glad that they're looking at it in the context of the new budget year and where do they need to make their adjustments. I don't think that the adjustments are going to have to be as big and as drastic as they're making them out to be, but it's good that they're making them at the front end. And it kind of exposes different people in terms of what their priorities are, right? And this is where you get a chance to sort of see what they really believe in terms of where the city's money should be going.
So the thing that I think is interesting is the mayor has been on the city council for 7 years.
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years, and I get the impression that he's acting like this was a big shock. He's been there for 8 years, so he should know, or if he's paying attention, kind of where things are coming in, and where, I know that there's this inclination to blame it on the previous mayor.
Yeah.
But that previous mayor guided us out of bankruptcy and brought what was a fiscal disaster into some semblance of normalcy.
Well, and what's fascinating to me too is if you look at sort of where the votes are coming from, it's all of these absolutely brand new council people who've never had to work with public accounting, public finance before, that are the ones that are sort of on board with all this stuff. Oh, we've got to cut all, we got to do all this stuff, and oh yes, we can spend the money here, we can do, and these are the people who have the sort of the least understanding of these budgets and how this money works, and they're the ones that are sort of leading the charge for the spending and the cuts, and the ones who've been there, who've been through all this before, are the ones who are saying, oh no, hold on, slow it down, we don't need to, and so that's kind of a fascinating.
Well, I mean, I got to be honest. If I were sitting on that council, I'd be scared to death of going back into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Well, because the reality is that, especially since they've deviated from the plan of adjustment, who knows if the court would grant them bankruptcy protection again? They don't have to.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's going to be fascinating to me, though, to see which of these cuts actually take place. This is where it gets hard. Right? If you're an elected official and you're being asked to vote to cut different things, this is where it gets difficult.
This is where rubber hits the road.
Yeah. It's one thing to talk about it theoretically, but when these guys actually have to vote to make the cuts, right? These are real people. So there are 25 people whose jobs are going to be on the line, right? That they're going to be getting rid of those jobs. And those people, by the way, will know, and they'll show up at the council meeting and they'll say, hey, if you get rid of me, this is what's not going to get done anymore. This is the job that you're getting rid of, and it's fascinating to watch that process, and it's very sad. I went through this multiple times because I was on the council during the Great Recession. Right, we had year after year of deep cuts, and my heart's kind of breaking for them right now.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
So, Newser is reporting that border agents set a record detaining 1,000 people at once. That there's record numbers of people showing up at the border, and border agents are having to deal with that. Border agents took more than 1,000 migrants into custody near El Paso, Texas, after they crossed into the U.S. illegally on Wednesday. This is the largest group ever encountered by the Border Patrol, according to NBC. More immigrants have been traveling in large groups recently, advocates say, for safety. Medical teams and border agents who often patrol in pairs can be overwhelmed by the groups. An incomplete tally of 1,036 immigrants shows that it included 934 people in family groups, 63 children who were alone, and 39 single adults. All processed as of Wednesday morning were from Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador. Until now, the largest group stopped at the border had 424 people. The Border Patrol says the agents encountered 13 groups of more than 100 in fiscal year 2018, but now sees that many groups in one day. Monday, Memorial Day, was especially busy. Customs and Border Protection say that with more than 2,200 migrants detained.
That was just on Memorial Day. Wow.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. And so the president is pushing back and now says he's going to levy, was it 4 or 5% tariff on Mexico until Mexico deals with this problem. Because all these people are coming from Central America through Mexico.
Yeah.
And Mexico is not stopping them.
No, Mexico's sort of ushering them through.
Right. And so, the president is like, okay, fine, you keep letting them through, then we're going to put a tariff on everything that comes from Mexico. The problem is there's a lot of stuff that comes from Mexico.
Yeah, well, our president likes tariffs, and I'm not sure that tariffs are the right way to deal with this particular problem, because ultimately the cost of the tariffs get passed on to our consumers here, right? And so far, the policies and the bluster from our president have not really created the results that he promised. Right? I mean, the immigration problem does not seem to be any better, and in fact, in many ways, seems quite a bit worse under President Trump than it was under Obama. And I think that's going to be a fascinating calculus as we go into the next election.
But I honestly think that people are. I mean, when the caravans were coming up, there were reporters and news people out there filming and interviewing volunteers or employees of these non-governmental organizations that were kind of shepherding people from Central America to the United States. And, if you interviewed the people, they're like, yes, this is a human right. They need to be where they can raise their families, yada, yada, yada. And so I think there's a concerted effort to move people up here.
Be that as it may, the president ran his last election on this idea that he was the guy who could fix this problem. He was going to build a wall. He was going to stop all this illegal immigration. It's been one of his main talking points since he's been in office, and he has been absolutely ineffective in terms of dealing with this issue.
Do you know that Congress won't even give him the money to house all the people that are coming up?
And he had a Republican Congress for the first 2 years.
Yep, he did.
So, I mean, it's going to be hard for him. He's going to want to blame everybody else. But ultimately, I think the voters in the United States believe the buck stops here with the president, and they're going to judge him on his effectiveness. And, they may love his rhetoric. There may be a bunch of people out there who love to hear him say, make America great again, build the wall, and chant all those wonderful slogans. But if it's not happening and the work's not getting done, you got to ask yourself, why is this guy incapable of getting people organized?
So President Trump's plan to slap escalating tariffs on all imports from Mexico until they stop the flow of migrants. This is the plan, and the Republicans, Senator Chuck Grassley, is pushing hard against this. He's the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. He slammed the plan Thursday as a misuse of presidential tariff authority and contrary to congressional intent. So he says that this will happen. Trump says that it will start on June 10th, and he says the tariffs will start at 5% and rise by 5 percentage points per month to 25% in October if Mexico doesn't stop migrants moving through the country from Central America. He says that this is a national emergency. The problem is that Americans will then be paying 25% more for everything that comes from Mexico.
Yeah.
So, you're taxing the American people, Mr. Tax Cuts.
Yeah.
And, why in the world is it better if we have to pay 25% more?
Yeah.
Build the wall. Find the money. Build the wall.
Well, Trump's thing is that we won't spend that money because it becomes too expensive, and that people will find American alternatives instead of buying those Mexican products. And that will help build jobs in America, which is a wonderful theory, but it doesn't actually work that way.
No.
No.
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
California headline news. Sanitary conditions at the LAPD Central Station in downtown are forcing state inspectors to take action. Cal OSHA spokesperson Frank Polizzi says an inspection found lots of health problems.
Some things Cal OSHA identified were rats and rodents, fleas, roaches, and even flies and gnats, grasshoppers, and mosquitoes.
Cal OSHA is fining LAPD $5,000. At least one officer has been diagnosed with typhoid fever. The log ride at Riverside's Castle Park will remain closed indefinitely, according to the Riverside Press Enterprise. That decision follows an accident that left a woman critically injured. And a major sponsor has pulled its support from the minor league baseball team in Fresno.
Raisin Company Sunmaid says they're no longer partnering with the AAA baseball team after they showed a video which lumped New York Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with the likes of Kim Jong-un and Fidel Castro.
The Grizzlies have apologized, calling it a terrible error in judgment. Steve Clausen, California News.
They say that if you want to know a person, you should walk a mile in their shoes. Same thing goes for tires. Except Firestone knows it's not just 1 mile, it's many. With the industry-leading 90-day buy and try guarantee, you can test drive our tires for 90 days. Then if you're not fully satisfied with them, we'll refund or replace them for you. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Conditions apply. See FirestoneTire.com for details.
Change can happen when you choose it. You can choose treatment and change your addiction to opioids. Medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, is a proven treatment for opioid addiction that significantly reduces the rate of relapse. Covered by Medi-Cal, Medicare, and many private insurance plans, MAT is even available through primary care doctors. Choose a proven treatment option that's right for you. Learn more at choosemat.org and choose Change, California.
It's It's time to take a look at our roadways. I'm Erin Brinker. In Temecula on the 15 southbound between the 79 Winchester Road and the 79 South Temecula Parkway, there's stop-and-go traffic. In the Cajon Pass on the 15 southbound after Oak Hill Road, a two-vehicle crash is in the center divider. Slow traffic is backed up from Ranchero Road. Traffic stays slow down past Cleghorn. This report is brought to you by Raging Waters. Live for summer at Raging Waters Los Angeles, California's largest water park. Get unlimited visits with 3 easy payments as low as $20 each online at ragingwaters.com. This has been your traffic report. Drive carefully, everyone. I'm Erin Brinker, and this is KCAA.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Lori. Patchy fog for this morning, otherwise sunny with your high in the low 80s. Overnight, patchy fog, otherwise increasing clouds with your low in the high 50s. Patchy fog on Saturday in the morning, otherwise mostly sunny, a high in the high 70s. And then Saturday night, patchy fog with your low in the mid 50s. I'm Lori, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM, Riverside 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California. We are KCAA.
Crashing on me for some reason, but your love keeps on coming like a thunderbolt.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So there's a scary story from Chicago. So there's an algorithm that has found 51 eerily similar Chicago murders. 51.
Serial killer?
Yes. So
serial killer?
Yes. Bodies, exactly, serial killer. Bodies turned up in some of Chicago's most derelict places, alleys, abandoned buildings, weed-choked lots, and garbage containers. The victims were mostly black women who had been strangled or suffocated. Authorities believe many were prostitutes or drug addicts or both. There was evidence of sexual attacks, and some of the dead were naked or wearing torn clothes. The slayings that began in 2001 continued for years, and to this day they remain unsolved. Now a national nonprofit group and a computer algorithm are helping detectives review the cases and reveal potential connections. The Murder Accountability Project, which analyzes homicides across the U.S., fed information about thousands of Chicago homicide victims and the way they died into a computer, which ultimately spit out 51 strikingly similar cases involving women whose bodies were found in some of the poorest pockets of the city. So, yeah, this screams serial killer. And that was the same thing was said by Thomas Hargrove, who is the project's founder. He presented his findings to police in 2017. His group made similar efforts elsewhere. In 2010, it analyzed a pattern of 15 unsolved strangulations of women in Indiana. 4 years later, a man in Gary confessed to killing 7 of them. Detectives in Chicago started the investigation under pressure from activists. Why did it take pressure from activists?
I know, right?
They're now reassessing each of the deaths, looking for links that went unnoticed, as well as any new clues. So far, police have not reported any breakthroughs or any firm connections between the slayings, which were paused between February 2014 and June 2017. So my guess is that the perpetrator was probably in prison.
Yeah.
The 21 killings were where DNA evidence was recovered. In the 21 killings where the DNA evidence was recovered, the genetic evidence belonged to 21 different people. Still, Deputy Chief of Detectives Brendan Denahan suspects there are 1 or 2 bad guys traveling the city, preying on women of a high-risk lifestyle. It could be a band of them. It could be 2 of them. It could be, whatever.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is scary, but it's also a little bit exciting in that technology is now allowing us to get a better picture of of what's going on, and hopefully will help them to catch the perpetrator or perpetrators.
I'm really bothered, and I understand that Chicago is a very violent city with a lot of crime, and you have to, they have to go at what they can fix first or what they can find first. But the idea that there are 51 unsolved murders, and that's just in this group. That have some similarities because they don't have. There's no squeaky wheel claiming or crying out for the women who were killed.
In a really large city like Chicago, the challenge is that your police department is not just one single department where they all get together and they talk about what's happening. It's all of these different precincts around the city that have their own sort of different commanders and different folks, and if they're not all talking to each other, right, and sharing this information, then it's easy for stuff like this to slip through the cracks, particularly for people that are murdered in sort of this kind of community, right? I mean, let's be honest, because there's probably not the outcry typically for these folks. They don't have the strong family structure. They don't have a husband or mom or dad who's standing there screaming and yelling, and the police saying, "Solve my kid's murder. Solve my spouse's
They're not squeaky
murder."
enough.
Yeah. And that's a shame. That's an absolute shame. So I love that there's a group out there that is now advocating for these folks and using data to really make the case that there's something going on here, right?
Because these women deserve justice. Even if they were struggling with addiction, these women deserve justice. Even if they had reached the point where they had to sell themselves, these women deserve justice.
Yeah.
Period. So I'm good on them. And again, the police department. Chicago, like I said, is a very violent city. So, there are only so many resources.
So let me tell you the future of this, right? The future of this is you'll have your 51 crimes that are connected, we think are connected, and then they're going to look into the data and they're going to use like the Google phone tracker or whatever these things are, and they're going to say, here we have a phone that was at 38 of the locations at approximately the time that we thought these happened, and now you have a list of suspects.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I really think that the technology is going to help us to begin to solve a lot of these crimes in ways that we've not thought of before.
That's an interesting idea, Tobin. Really interesting.
Yeah.
So you find who was in that, and they would have to be an area, and look at all of the murders, who was in that area.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, when you have a large enough sample like this, 51, crimes, I mean, you could, potentially, if people are willing to give you access to the mega data, you might be able to get a list of potential suspects.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah, that good.
I would love to see the technology being used that way. I do not have a problem with that as a quote-unquote invasion of privacy. So
on to other race-related, and that one was race-related because those women were all black, and they were all, at a tough point in their lives. So in closer to home, the LA Times has a story talking about, the headline is they try to grab you, and it does. At Buck Wild meetings, racism and corruption allegations tear school district apart. So in April, a meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District's board, trustee Jill McGrady questioned why the board had hired a $400 an hour attorney despite having an in-house lawyer and a contract with an outside firm. Why hadn't this new attorney provided a bill for 2 months of work? McGrady asked. Was he meeting privately with individual members of the board? The discussion took an unexpected turn when board president Robert Davis accused McGrady of raising questions only because the attorney is black. I'm not going to participate in this racial game of let's move the goalpost for the black man, said Davis, who, like McGrady, is white. The audience exploded into jeers. Racial, one woman said. How is this racial? For months, this high desert district of 22,000 students has been roiled by political infighting and protests, all with an undercurrent of race. Residents have denounced the trustees for going on a spending spree, even as they denied pay raises to school principals and other employees. Accusations of misusing public funds, providing contracts to friends, and a duplication of services have led to a recall effort against trustees Davis, Victoria Ruffin, and Amanda Perrell. Among board actions that have come under scrutiny, are you ready for this? A $48,500 security consulting job given to a former colleague of Davis. An open-ended contract for Ruffin acquaintance to create websites to reflect each trustee's personal brand or style. and the hiring of attorney John W. Harris, who appears to fall asleep during his first meetings, according to several people who was present. Now, he can't be reached for comment.
Too busy sleeping.
Right? Meetings have become must-see theater with overflow crowds filling the lobby. They just get buck wild across the board, Ruffin, the board's vice president, said of recent meetings. Since April, debates about contracts have been inextricable from debates about racism. A number of teachers say they fear that the trustees threatened with recall are using sweeping exploitative rhetoric about race to divert attention from controversial decisions. So Davis and Ruffin said the recall effort is a result of people being uncomfortable with their attempts to expose problems. When we're doing the hard work in social justice, we're doing the hard work of being equity warriors. It does mean that people get an opportunity to look at your ways and your practices. I can understand why that would be seen as something scary. But this is according to one of the women. This is according to Ruffin, Victoria Ruffin. But the idea that you have to create a website to reflect each trustee's personal brand or style,
so
give me a break.
This should remind you of when I was on the Colton School Board, and a particular member wanted, her big focus was what kind of stationery.
Oh, that's right.
And we had committee meeting after committee meeting, and we brought in all these different styles of stationery because, we wanted to have the right stationery. And I'm like,
are you kidding me?
That is not why I got elected. I don't care about stationery. Give me the same stationery everyone else has, just a basic letterhead. I don't care.
And your website, trustees or any elected officials, should be just the city's website or the school district's website or whatever municipality or governmental organization you're working on, working with.
I'm always amazed by people who get elected to these relatively small elected positions, but act like they're the president of the United States, right? And they've got all this immense power now, and they're going to do all these things. And they go on these self-aggrandizing sort of tours of the schools and the city or wherever they are, and they make sure that they are the focus. And it's not supposed to be about them. It's supposed to be about the kids and what's best for the schools. And I'm not surprised at all that there's a recall on these three as you go and look at all the various things that they've done. One of the things that they did, I think, that got a lot of people upset was they fired a woman who was a longtime employee of the district, and that really set some stuff in motion. And I think that they really are trying to get rid of some people and put in their own people. And this is ugly.
It is ugly. So apparently this criticism, this kind of wild west meeting environment, it began to mount after a January 24th meeting when the trustees approved several deals, including a $75,000 contract with Valencia-based Full Circle Consulting Systems, Inc., to conduct training aimed at improving students' relationships with teachers and others. Multiple teachers said the pilot program, called Student Teachers, Officers, and Parents, STOP, was wasteful because the district already paid for another nationally recognized program with a similar mission called Capturing Kids' Hearts. Glenda Potts, a teacher at Desert Winds High School, this is an alternative school in Lancaster, said STOP instructors made teachers do yoga breathing exercise and build towers out of marshmallows and raw spaghetti noodles as team building activities.
Summer camp.
Okay, so I'm thinking about every high school teacher I know.
Yeah.
Okay, they're very independent. They are very driven. They're the boss of their classroom, and you know it. And they're sarcastic, and they don't tolerate a lot of BS because they've been in the classroom. They know how kids are, and don't you tell them what they don't know. I mean, what they already know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I respect every high school teacher. I could not do that job, but they don't suffer fools lightly.
No, they don't.
So. Yeah.
And that kind of frou-frou stuff don't go over very well.
No, it doesn't. So, I just want to talk about this because this is not in our backyard. It's up in the Antelope Valley, and we're not the only ones that are having some challenges in our area.
That's right.
And challenges in general. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
A modern 21st century gold rush is happening in America, and you can be a part of it. Today, new mining technology and equipment is allowing miners and weekend prospectors to extract commercial amounts of gold from old mine tailings and surface waste that old-time prospectors missed over 100 years ago. With gold prices soaring past $40,000 a kilo, many old gold mines are reopening. Some of these mines are producing more than an ounce of gold per ton of ore, and the supply of old mine tailings and surface waste ore is virtually unlimited. New mining technology combined with relaxed investment laws are allowing more people to own a stake in gold mines and to become stockholders in promising new mining companies. MW Mining and Inspections Incorporated is one of these new companies. In 2018, the company reopened the first of several U.S. mines with gold production exceeding 1/2 troy ounce per ton, plus high recoverable amounts of silver, platinum, rare earth, and other precious metals. MW Mining is unique because it plans to pay stockholders dividends from its gross sales, not from net income, and therefore MW Mining will absorb all operating expenses internally. For more information on the MW Mining stock opportunity, go to mwminingandinspections.com or call or text 208-451-4558. The common stock of MW Mining is offered through a private placement memorandum pursuant to an exemption from registration under Rule 504 of Regulation D promulgated under the Securities Act of 1933. Gold mining is a high-risk business. All investing in securities involves risk. Purchasing this stock may result in the total loss of your investment. The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is home to some of the best bargain shopping in the region. Citywear, Style for Less, and Dollar Tree, to name just a few. Friendly shop owners and staff are waiting for you to stop in for the many specials and bargains they're excited to share. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. Make it your home for all your shopping needs, and you'll know why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
Join me, Stephanie Miller, every weekday for the antidote to cantankerous conservatives. And if they don't like it, too bad. It's on KCAA.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8.
10:50 a.m. and 106.5 FM.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
Am I about to get rickrolled?
You are being rickrolled, and we are.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we're on the Brink the Morning Show on KCAA. So I really just love his voice, and I had such a crush on him in high school. It's not even funny.
She's fangirling, people. She's fangirling.
I'm like 12 years old. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like 16.
Oh, Erin. Oh, Erin.
Yeah.
So, did you notice, or did you see this article about Alexa, our wonderful Alexa? I love saying that name.
You've just ignited everybody's machines.
Yeah. If you say the name Alexa 3 times fast, she blows up. Not really.
She comes out and goes, "What?"
Right. Stop bugging me. Well, they now have a feature where you can get your device to delete everything you said today. Right. So you
okay.
can
Wait.
You can wipe the memory.
So this kind of creeps me out. Why is Alexa recording everything I said today?
I don't know. But it's a computer. It remembers everything, Erin. Unlike me, who can't remember.
I tell you, the Stasi in East Germany could not have devised or dreamed up listening devices and tracking devices that we all invite into our homes and lives today.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. What would be interesting is if you can delete it, I wonder if you can have her play it back to you so you can see what she's recorded, right?
I know you're going to try, aren't you?
I am.
So what dumb jokes did I have? Did you read back to, did you tell me today? Because Tobin has Alexa tell him jokes.
Yeah, I do. That's my thing. But, this is apparently this new command is a part of a broader push towards privacy. The company also announced that a $90 Echo Show 5 smart screen device, which comes with a physical cover for its front-facing camera. So you getting there's a new device you can get, and you can have these new commands. Isn't this awesome, Erin? Awesome.
Is it? Is it awesome?
Well, I think it is. It's just a step in the right direction.
He wasn't expecting that. I don't know what to say.
So earlier this month, a group of United States senators and 19 consumer and public health advocates urged the Federal Trade Commission to investigate whether Amazon's Echo Dot Kids edition is in violation of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. They allege that it doesn't follow the law's parental consent requirement and allow parents to adequately delete their kids' information. And so the government's looking at what Amazon's doing with this technology, and they're starting with the kids, which I think is a good place to start, but it's obviously putting some pressure on them. So in April, Bloomberg reported that Amazon workers listened to audio clips to help the company improve Alexa's understanding of speech, Aaron.
Is that what they're doing?
I suppose they are. Now, I have several students in my class that are named Alexa, and every time I talk to them, I give them like commands like I do the machine.
Alexa. Yeah. I'm sure they're like, ha, 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 Miss Brinker. I've never heard that one before.
No, I don't think they even quite know I'm doing it. They just know that my voice changes. Like, why is he talking like that?
Alexa, turn in your homework.
Right. That's it. That's the voice. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. And we have one in our house. I mean,
we do.
I forget about it. I don't use it very often, to be honest with you.
So we have not enabled ours the way that like my brother has. So he's got his hooked into all of these other devices, so he can have it turn on lights and do other things around his house.
Just walk over to the light and turn it on.
Clap on, clap off.
Right.
Now I'm showing my age there, Aaron.
Clapper.
The clapper.
I'll get off my butt and go turn on the light.
But you can hook it up to a lot of other things, and I think Todd even has his hooked up to like his thermostat and stuff like that. He can, it's all kinds of stuff. Like it's high tech, Aaron.
Alexa, what's the temperature in my house?
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So not something I'm super, comfortable with, but.
But you do want the privacy. I mean, you want to be able to delete that stuff.
Heck yeah! But I also I'm also creeped out that they're listening.
It makes you wonder if you could have it so she doesn't remember. So you could have like it set so that she just forgets it right after you say it.
Yeah, but do you trust that she actually would?
I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, right.
They use that information.
Yeah, it's just buried deeper.
Yeah, I mean,
buried deeper.
This idea, and Todd and I talked about this yesterday. There's some privacy concerns with Apple as well, and not with Apple itself, but with the apps they allow on the App Store.
Yeah.
And that if you're noticing that your data is going out of control, you need to change the settings on your phone so that the data isn't flowing all the time. Because this guy put a tracker on his phone, like to see what was flowing in and out.
Yeah.
And at night, like Yelp was sharing data like every 5 minutes.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
And
you're
crazy.
like, okay, I use Yelp to pick a restaurant. That's the data that I allow you to have. And now you're turning yourself on and doing a whole lot more than that, like sharing IP address and sharing personal information.
Yeah.
And I use Yelp and I like Yelp. As a matter of fact, I love going to locally owned restaurants as opposed to the big chain restaurants. And Yelp is critical for, finding the good places.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, Amazon is putting us all on super secret double probation while they're listening into our devices and spying on us. So just so
is
be
that
aware.
A pledge pin on your uniform? I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, whatever, flounder.
Oh, we're a little punchy this morning.
It's Friday.
It is Friday, and we're actually at the end of our show. So everybody have a wonderful weekend. If you went to Colton High School at any time, ever, go to the Swarm tomorrow, Ukaipa Regional Park. $5 a carload to get in.
$10 a carload to get in.
$10 a carload to get in. $5 just to help pay for the shelter. Bring your family.
Shade shelter number 1.
Shade shelter number 1. And it'll be a nice warm day. So if your kids wanted to use the water slide, do that.
And we'll have a massive sign that says Swarm.
All right. So it's the end of our show for today. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we'll see you on Monday.